Jake Morrison stood in the middle of the biggest room he had ever seen. The walls curved up so high that he could barely see the ceiling. Strange lights floated in the air without any wires or supports. The floor beneath his feet felt warm and seemed to glow with a soft blue light. Around him sat creatures that looked like they came from nightmares and dreams. Some had too many arms. Others had skin that changed colors like a rainbow. One looked like a giant snake with tiny arms growing from its sides. Another had wings made of what looked like glass that caught the light and threw it around the room in pretty patterns. This was the Galactic Council, and Jake was the first human to ever stand in their presence. "So this is what humans look like," said a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. Jake turned to see a creature that looked like it was made of living stone. Its eyes glowed red in the dim light. "Smaller than I expected." "Much smaller," agreed another voice. This one came from something that looked like a giant bug with crystal wings. When it talked, its mouth parts clicked and clacked together. And so weak-looking. No claws, no armor, no natural weapons at all. Jake felt sweat on his forehead, but he kept his face calm. He had trained for this moment for 2 years. Every day he had practiced what to say and how to act. The future of all humanity might depend on the next few minutes. High above him, on a platform that floated in the air, sat the most important creature in the room. It looked like a snake, but it was as thick as a tree trunk and at least 20 feet long. Its scales were black with silver patterns that seemed to move when Jake looked at them. This was Vexthul, the Speaker of the Council. "Human," Vexthul said, and his voice filled the entire room. "You have been brought here to receive the wisdom of the Council. Your species has been watched. Your planets have been studied. Your ships have been counted." Jake nodded. He knew all of this already. For the past 5 years, alien ships had been seen at the edge of human space. They never came close enough to talk, but they were always there, watching and waiting. "The Council has decided," Vexthul continued, "that humanity is ready to join the greater galaxy. You will become part of the hegemony. Your ships will carry our flags. Your planets will pay tribute to the Council. Your people will serve the greater good of all civilized species." The creatures around the room made sounds that Jake guessed were agreement. Some clapped with hands that had too many fingers. Others made clicking or buzzing noises. The snake creature that seemed to be made of liquid metal made a sound like water dripping. "This is a great honor," said the bug creature with crystal wings. "Most species must be conquered before they can join the hegemony. You are being given the chance to surrender peacefully." "Think of it as an invitation," added a creature that looked like a walking tree with eyes scattered across its bark. "A very generous invitation." Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been preparing for. "I thank the Council for their generous offer," he said in a loud, clear voice. "But humanity must decline." The room went completely silent. Even the floating lights seemed to dim. Jake could hear his own heart beating in his chest. Then the laughter started. It began with the crystal-winged bug creature making a sound like breaking glass. The stone creature made a noise like an avalanche. The tree thing rustled its branches. Soon every creature in the room was making whatever sound their species made when they found something funny. "Decline," Vexthul said, and Jake could hear amusement in his voice. "Little human, I do not think you understand. This is not a request. This is not something you can say no to. Your entire fleet," said the stone creature, still laughing, "consists of ships smaller than our shuttles. Your biggest warship is barely 200 meters long. Some of our fighters are bigger than that. We have seen your weapons," added the bug creature. "Metal slugs fired from tubes, explosive rockets, technology that we stopped using 1,000 years ago." The tree creature spoke up. "Your species has nuclear weapons, yes? Very dangerous to primitives like yourselves. But our shields can stop your biggest bombs without even dimming." Jake felt his mouth go dry, but he kept his voice steady. "Even so, humanity's answer is no. We will not join your hegemony. We will not pay tribute. We will not serve." The laughter got louder. Some of the creatures were making sounds that hurt Jake's ears. Others were slapping the floor or walls with whatever they used for hands. "Brave little human," Vexthol said. "But bravery without power is just foolishness. Let me show you something." The air in the middle of the room shimmered, and suddenly Jake could see space. It was like looking through a window, but the window was made of light itself. Through it, he could see his ship, the transport vessel that had brought him here. It looked tiny and alone among the massive alien ships that surrounded it. "Your ship is 200 meters long," Vexthol said. "The smallest ship in our escort fleet is 500 meters. Our largest is over 2,000 meters long and carries enough firepower to turn your entire home planet into dust." Jake stared at the image. He could see Captain Lisa Hayes's ship, the UES Defiant, hanging in space like a minnow surrounded by whales. It did look impossibly small next to the alien vessels. "One of our ships," continued the bug creature, "could destroy your entire fleet without taking damage. 10 of our ships could conquer your home system in a day. We have 10,000 ships." "But we are merciful," Vexthul said. "We do not wish to cause unnecessary suffering. Join us willingly, and your people will be treated well. They will have food, shelter, and purpose. They will serve the greater galaxy." "And if we refuse?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then you will be pacified," Vexthul said simply. "Your military will be destroyed. Your governments will be removed. Your people will be relocated to worlds where they can be properly supervised. It will be unpleasant for everyone involved." Jake looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at him. Some looked amused. Others looked bored. A few looked almost sorry for him. "I need to ask you one more time," Vexthul said. "Will humanity join the hegemony willingly?" Jake thought about Earth. He thought about the millions of people going about their daily lives not knowing that their future was being decided in this room. He thought about his wife, Sarah, and his 2 children waiting for him to come home. He thought about Captain Hayes and her crew, floating in space in their tiny ship surrounded by enemies. Then he thought about the message he had received just before coming to this meeting. 3 words that changed everything. "Package is ready." Humanity's answer, Jake said in a clear, strong voice, is still no. The laughter started again, but this time it sounded different. Crueler. More threatening. "So be it," Vexthul said. "Fleet Admiral Korvac, you may proceed with pacification. Try to keep casualties to a minimum. Dead humans serve no purpose." Jake felt his heart sink, but he kept his face calm. Everything now depended on Captain Hayes and her tiny ship. Fleet Admiral Korvac stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the data screen in front of him. The numbers made him want to laugh. According to his intelligence officers, the entire human fleet had only 12 ships. 12 tiny ships. That barely qualified as warships at all. "Show me their biggest ship again," he said to his aide, a young Zephyrian officer with bright green wing markings. The screen changed to show a detailed scan of the human vessel called the UES Defiant. Korvac studied it with the eye of someone who had fought in 100 battles across 50 star systems. 200 meters long, he said out loud. "That makes it smaller than my personal shuttle. Look at these weapon readings. Kinetic projectiles. Chemical explosives. They might as well be throwing rocks." His aide clicked his mandibles in agreement. "Sir, our smallest escort ship could destroy their entire fleet without taking damage. Why are we bringing 47 ships to deal with? 1 human vessel?" Korvac flexed his forearms and adjusted his armor. "Because the Council wants to send a message. When other primitive species hear about this, they will know what happens when you refuse the hegemony's generous offer." Around them, the bridge crew worked at their stations. The Eternal Dominion was the pride of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. At 2.3 kilometers long, it was one of the largest ships ever built. Its main cannon could punch through a moon. Its shields could stop anything short of a star going supernova. "Signal the fleet," Korvac ordered. "All ships are to use minimum power settings only. We want to capture the human ship intact so our scientists can study their primitive technology." "Yes, sir," his communications officer replied. "Admiral, the human ship is moving." Korvac looked at the tactical display. The tiny human ship was indeed moving, but very slowly. It seemed to be drifting rather than flying with purpose. "Are they trying to run away?" asked his aide. "In that slow bucket? They would need a week to reach the edge of the system." Korvac studied the display more carefully. "No, I think they are trying to find a good position to make their last stand." "How touching." On board the UES Defiant, Captain Lisa Hayes stood on her own bridge and watched the alien fleet approach. Her ship was indeed tiny compared to the massive vessels coming toward them, but she felt no fear. She had been preparing for this moment for 3 years. "Status report," she said to her crew. "All systems green," replied her first officer, Commander Ryan Bell. "The package is fully charged and ready to deploy on your command." "Engineering?" Hayes asked. Chief Engineer Amy Foster looked up from her console. "Power levels are holding steady at 400% of normal maximum. The new reactor is performing exactly as designed." Hayes nodded. The alien scanners would show her ship drawing normal power levels. They had no way to detect the exotic energy source hidden deep in the Defiant's hull. 3 years of the most secret research in human history had led to this moment. "Communications, do we have a link to Earth?" Hayes asked. "Yes, ma'am," replied Lieutenant Sarah Jenkins. "Admiral Collins is standing by." Hayes activated the secure channel. On her screen appeared the face of Admiral Pete Collins, the man who had personally overseen the development of humanity's most classified project. "Lisa," Collins said, "the council meeting just ended. Ambassador Morrison delivered our message. They laughed at us." "Expected," Hayes replied. "Are we cleared for the demonstration?" "You are cleared. Remember, this is not just about winning a battle. This is about sending a message to every species in the galaxy. Make it count." "Understood, sir. 1 ship, 1 shot." The transmission ended, and Hayes turned back to her crew. They were all young, all volunteers, and all sworn to secrecy about what their ship really carried. "Helmsman, take us to position Alpha 7, she ordered. "Yes, ma'am," replied Lieutenant Danny Price. "Engines answering." The Defiant began to move, its small fusion engines pushing it through space at what looked like a desperate attempt to find a defensive position. The alien fleet followed, moving slowly and confidently like a pack of wolves closing in on a wounded rabbit. Korvac watched the human ship's movements with professional interest. "They are heading for that asteroid field, probably hoping to hide behind the rocks and make us come after them one at a time." "Should we split our formation?" asked his aide. "No need. Our shields can handle anything those asteroids might do to us. And our weapons can vaporize rocks the size of cities. Let them play their little games." What Korvac did not know was that the Defiant was not heading for the asteroid field to hide. It was moving to a very specific point in space, calculated, down to the exact meter by the most advanced computers humanity had ever built. On Earth, in a bunker buried 3 miles underground, a team of scientists watched the battle through quantum sensors that the aliens could not detect. Dr. Kevin Wright, the man who had invented humanity's secret weapon, watched the readings on his screen with nervous excitement. "Power levels are perfect," he said to his assistant. "The field generators are aligned, everything is ready." "Sir," his assistant said, "are you sure this will work? We have only tested it on unmanned targets." Dr. Wright looked at the display showing the massive alien fleet. 47 ships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a city. Against them, 1 small human ship with a crew of 32 people. "It will work," he said. "It has to work." Back in space, the alien fleet continued its slow advance. The human ship looked more pathetic with each passing minute. Its weapons were laughably primitive. Its armor was barely worth mentioning. Its shields were so weak they might as well not exist. "This is almost sad," Korvac said to his aide. "I have fought against species that built ships out of living coral. I have battled fleets of crystalline vessels that could phase in and out of reality. But I have never seen anything quite this primitive. Should we hail them and demand surrender?" asked his communications officer. "Let them fire first," Korvac replied. "I want to see what their little pop guns can do against our shields. The recordings will be amusing to show at the officers' club." The Defiant reached its target position and stopped. From the outside, it looked like a tiny metal dot surrounded by an ocean of enemy ships. Captain Hayes looked at her displays and saw that the alien fleet was arranging itself in exactly the formation that Earth strategists had predicted. "All ships are in position," reported her tactical officer. "Range to targets, optimal." "Package status?" Hayes asked. "Fully charged and ready," replied Commander Bell. "Target lock acquired." Hayes took a deep breath. In the next few minutes, she would either save humanity or watch her species become slaves to alien masters. "Stand by all stations," she said. "This is it." The first shot came from the UES Defiant. A simple railgun round, a piece of metal fired at high speed, streaked across space toward the nearest alien ship. It struck the vessel's shields and disappeared in a small flash of light. "Did you see that?" laughed Commander Zextar from his position on the bridge of the cruiser Void Hunter. "Their biggest gun did not even make our shields flicker." Fleet Admiral Korvac watched from his flagship as the human ship fired again. This time it was a missile, a chemical explosive that would have been dangerous to other humans but was nothing to alien technology. The missile exploded against another ship's shields and left no damage at all. "Signal all ships," Korvac ordered. "Use only level 1 power settings. I want to see what these humans can do before we end this." The alien fleet opened fire, but their weapons were set to the lowest possible power. Beams of energy that could normally cut through mountains were reduced to the strength of flashlights. Plasma bolts that could melt steel were turned down until they barely glowed. Even at such low power, the alien weapons were still dangerous to the human ship. Captain Hayes felt the Defiant shake as energy beams struck her hull. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Chief Engineer Amy Foster. "Sealing it now." "Shields down to 60%, added her tactical officer. Hayes gripped her command chair as another plasma bolt struck them. The aliens were playing with them, like a cat playing with a mouse before killing it. But that was exactly what she wanted them to do. "Danny, evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Make it look good." Lieutenant Danny Price pushed his controls and the Defiant began to dance. The small ship twisted and turned through space, dodging between the massive alien vessels. Its size, which had seemed like such a weakness, now became an advantage. The Defiant could fit through gaps that would trap larger ships. "Look at it run," said one alien captain over the communication channels. "Like a scared rabbit." "It moves well for such a primitive design," admitted another. "But it cannot run forever." The Defiant fired its weapons again and again. Railgun rounds bounced off alien shields. Missiles exploded harmlessly against energy barriers. Nuclear torpedoes, humanity's most powerful conventional weapons, were swatted aside like annoying insects. But Captain Hayes was not trying to damage the alien ships. She was buying time and moving her ship to exactly the right position. Every twist and turn was calculated. Every desperate-looking maneuver was planned. "They are heading for the asteroid field," observed Commander Zextar. "Probably hoping to hide behind the rocks." "Let them," Korvac replied. "Our sensors can track them anywhere in this system, and our weapons can destroy any asteroid they try to hide behind." What the aliens did not notice was that the human ship was not actually heading for the asteroids. It was moving in a very specific pattern, following a path that had been calculated by computers back on Earth. Every turn brought it closer to a precise point in space. On board the Defiant, Lieutenant Sarah Jenkins monitored the alien communications. "Captain, they are getting bored. I'm hearing talk about ending the game and capturing us." "How much longer do we need?" Hayes asked. Commander Ryan Bell checked his instruments. 90 seconds to optimal position. The package is at full charge." Hayes nodded. The last 90 seconds would be the most dangerous. She needed to keep the aliens interested, but not so interested that they would use their full power and destroy her ship before she could complete her mission. "All ships, close formation," Korvac ordered. "Prepare tractor beams. We will capture the human ship now." The alien fleet began to move closer together. 47 massive warships arranged themselves in a sphere around the small human vessel. It was a perfect trap. The humans could not escape in any direction. "Tractor beam ready," reported the weapons officer on the Eternal Dominion. Not yet, Korvac said. Let them fire a few more shots. I want to see their desperation. The Defiant fired everything it had. Railguns, missiles, torpedoes, and energy weapons that barely qualified as military grade. The alien ships absorbed the attacks without even bothering to return fire. It was like watching a child throw pebbles at a tank. Pathetic, said Commander Zextar. Is this really the best they can do? Their weapons are weaker than I expected, agreed another captain. No wonder they surrendered so quickly to our initial demands. But the human ship had not surrendered. It kept fighting, kept moving, kept firing its useless weapons. The aliens found this amusing at first, then annoying. Enough games, Korvac decided. Activate tractor beams. Bring them in. Multiple tractor beams reached out from the alien ships, invisible hands of force that could grab and hold even the largest vessels. The beams touched the Defiant and began to pull it toward the center of the alien formation. Tractor beams have us, reported the tactical officer. We cannot break free. Hayes looked at her chronometer. 30 seconds to optimal position. Alien ships were exactly where Earth strategists had predicted they would be. Arranged in a perfect sphere with the human ship at the center. They are bringing us in, observed Commander Bell. Should we surrender? Not yet, Hayes replied. Sarah, open a channel to the alien fleet. Channel open, Captain. Hayes activated her communication system. Her voice was broadcast to every alien ship in the formation. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the United Earthship Defiant. We know we cannot win this fight with conventional weapons. Finally, Korvac said, they are going to surrender. However, Hayes continued, we have one more thing to try. Something our scientists have been working on for the past 3 years. What could primitive humans possibly have that we have not seen? Asked Commander Zextar. Hayes looked at her chronometer. 10 seconds to optimal position. Around her ship, 47 alien vessels hung in space like fruit on a tree, perfectly arranged for what was about to happen. You laughed at our small ship, Hayes said. You mocked our primitive weapons, but you made one mistake. What mistake? Korvac demanded. You assumed that size matters in space warfare. Hayes looked at Commander Bell. Ryan, is the package ready? Package is ready, Captain. Target lock confirmed. All alien ships are in optimal position. 5 seconds to position, reported the navigation officer. Hayes took a deep breath. Everything that humanity had worked for, everything they had hoped for came down to the next few seconds. You wanted to see what humans can do, she said over the open channel. Let us show you. The chronometer reached 0. The Defiant was in perfect position. The alien fleet was arranged exactly as planned. 47 ships, including 3 massive dreadnoughts, hung in space like targets in a shooting gallery. Fire, Hayes ordered. Commander Ryan Bell pressed the firing button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The alien ships continued to pull the Defiant toward them with their tractor beams. Fleet Admiral Korvac was about to order his crews to board the human vessel, when his sensors officer screamed, Sir, energy reading off the scale. Something is happening. From the bottom of the tiny human ship, something emerged that made no sense to alien science. It was not a beam of energy. It was not a projectile. It was not anything the galaxy had ever seen before. It looked like a bubble made of twisted space itself. Reality bent and warped around it as it expanded outward from the Defiant at incredible speed. Stars seemed to stretch and bend where it passed. Light itself was pulled into strange curves. What is that thing? Korvac demanded. His science officer stared at his instruments in horror. Sir, it appears to be some kind of artificial gravity field. But the readings are impossible. No species has ever learned to weaponize gravity itself. The bubble of twisted space-time expanded outward in all directions from the human ship. It reached the first alien vessel, a destroyer called the Star Render, in less than 3 seconds. What happened next would be talked about in alien military academies for the next 1,000 years. The Star Render, a ship that weighed 3 million tons and was 800 meters long, simply collapsed. Not slowly, not with explosions or fire or any of the normal things that happened when ships were destroyed. It just suddenly became smaller. In the space of a heartbeat, the massive warship was compressed into a ball of metal no bigger than a marble. Then the marble-sized ball of compressed matter winked out of existence entirely, leaving behind only empty space. "Impossible," whispered Commander Zextar from his ship, the Void Hunter. But even as he spoke, the expanding gravity field reached his vessel. The Void Hunter had shields that could stop the explosion of a nuclear bomb. It had armor made from materials harder than diamond. It had survived battles against the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy. None of that mattered. Gravity did not care about shields or armor. Gravity was one of the fundamental forces of the universe itself, and the humans had learned to control it. Like the star render before it, the Void Hunter collapsed into itself. A ship that had taken 50 years to build and carried a crew of 2,000 simply ceased to exist. The gravity wave continued to expand, reaching ship after ship in the alien formation. Each vessel, no matter how large or how well protected, suffered the same fate. They were compressed by artificial gravity into points smaller than atoms, then vanished completely. "All ships, emergency power to engines!" Korvac screamed into his communication system. "Break formation! Get away from that thing!" But it was too late. The aliens had arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the human ship, and the gravity weapon expanded in all directions at the same speed. There was nowhere to run. The cruiser Eternal Flame tried to escape. Its captain pushed the engines beyond safe limits, but the ship only managed to move a few hundred meters before the gravity field caught it. Like all the others, it simply disappeared. Free. Dreadnought Cosmic Fury was the largest ship in the alien fleet except for Korvac's flagship. It was 2 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to destroy an entire solar system. Its captain tried to fire at the source of the gravity field, hoping to destroy the human ship before the wave reached him. His weapons never had a chance to fire. The gravity field compressed his ship, his crew, and his weapons into nothingness. In less than a second, on board the Defiant, Captain Hayes watched her instruments as the gravity weapon did its work. The readings were almost too incredible to believe. 47 enemy ships representing enough firepower to conquer half the galaxy were being destroyed by a single shot from her tiny vessel. "My God," whispered Chief Engineer Amy Foster. "It actually works." The weapon that humanity called the Hammer was based on science that the rest of the galaxy did not even know existed. While alien species had spent thousands of years building bigger ships and more powerful conventional weapons, human scientists had taken a different path. They had studied the deepest secrets of physics itself. They had learned that gravity was not just a force that pulled objects together, but something that could be controlled and shaped like any other tool. The project had taken 10 years, and the combined efforts of humanity's greatest minds. Einstein's theories, quantum mechanics, and discoveries that would not be made by alien science for another century had all been combined into one impossible weapon. Dr. Kevin Wright, watching from his bunker on Earth, saw his creation work exactly as he had predicted. The artificial gravity field expanded at precisely the calculated speed. It compressed matter at precisely the predicted rate. It lasted for exactly the amount of time his equations said it would. In space, the gravity bubble reached its maximum size and began to collapse back in on itself. The entire effect had lasted less than 5 seconds, but in that time it had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. When the weapon finished its work, 46 alien ships had simply ceased to exist. Only one vessel remained, Korvac's flagship, the Eternal Dominion. It had been at the very edge of the formation and had suffered only partial effects from the gravity field. But even the mighty Eternal Dominion had not escaped unharmed. Half of the ship had been compressed and twisted by the edge of the gravity field. Systems failed throughout the vessel. Emergency lights flickered on and off. The ship's weapons were offline. Its engines barely functioned. Korvac pulled himself up from the floor of his bridge where he had been thrown by the gravitational effects. Around him, his crew slowly got back to their stations. Many were injured. Some were dead. Status report, he croaked. Sir, his tactical officer said in a shaking voice. The fleet is gone. All of it. 46 ships and over 1 million crew members just gone. Korvac looked at his main screen. Where his mighty fleet had been, there was now only empty space and the small human ship sitting calmly in the middle of it all. How? He whispered. How is this possible? His science officer looked up from his damaged console. Sir, according to our readings, the humans have learned to weaponize gravity itself. They created an artificial gravity field that compressed our ships beyond their structural limits. That is impossible, Korvac said. No species in the galaxy has mastered gravity manipulation. No known species, his officer corrected, but the humans apparently have. On the Defiant, Captain Hayes opened a communication channel to the Iowan surviving alien ship. Her voice was calm and professional, but underneath it was steel. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the United Earth ship Defiant, she said. Admiral Korvac, I believe you wanted to see what human weapons could do. Are you satisfied with the demonstration? Korvac stared at the screen showing the tiny human ship. It looked exactly the same as it had before. Small, weak, primitive. But appearances, he now realized, could be very deceiving. What do you want? He asked. I want you to take a message back to your council, Hayes replied. Tell them that humanity declines their generous offer to join the hegemony. Tell them that we have more ships like this one. Tell them that size does not matter when you can control the fundamental forces of the universe. She paused, letting her words sink in. And tell them that if they ever threaten humanity again, we will show them what our other weapons can do. The silence that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever experienced. Across space, monitoring stations that had been watching the battle suddenly lost contact with 46 warships. Emergency beacons that should have activated when ships were destroyed never had a chance to send their signals. The ships had simply vanished. On his damaged flagship, Fleet Admiral Korvac stared at the tactical display that showed empty space, where his fleet had been. His hands shook as he tried to process what had just happened. 1 million trained soldiers, the pride of multiple star systems, were gone. Erased. As if they had never existed at all. Sir, his communications officer said quietly, we are receiving signals from across the galaxy. Every government, every military, every space-capable species is asking what happened here. Korvac closed his eyes. The gravitational disturbance caused by the human weapon had been felt across multiple star systems. Every civilization with gravity sensors would have detected it. They would all want to know what could cause such a massive disruption in space-time itself. Sir, what should I tell them? The officer asked. Before Korvac could answer, Captain Hayes's voice came over the communication channel again. Admiral, I am transmitting complete technical specifications of our weapon to every government in the galaxy. They will know exactly what destroyed your fleet and exactly how we did it. Korvac felt his blood turn cold. If other species learned how to build such weapons, the balance of power in the galaxy would change forever. You cannot do that. That technology is too dangerous. Too dangerous for who? Hayes asked. Too dangerous for species that think they can force others to surrender. Too dangerous for those who believe that might makes right. On Earth, in the secret bunker, Dr. Kevin Wright was already uploading the weapon specifications to every major communication network in known space. The data included detailed blueprints, mathematical formulas, and step-by-step instructions for building a gravity manipulation device. Sir, his assistant said, if we give this technology to everyone, some species might use it for evil purposes. Dr. Wright looked at his screen showing alien governments downloading the information. Maybe, but now everyone will know that humans have this technology, and they will know that we are willing to share it with others. That makes us valuable allies and dangerous enemies. Back in the council chamber where Ambassador Jake Morrison still stood, the alien representatives were receiving reports from their home worlds. The crystal-winged bug creature that had laughed at humanity's small ships was now clicking his mandibles in fear. Impossible, Vexthul hissed. Our intelligence report said humans had primitive technology, kinetic weapons, chemical explosives. How could they have developed gravity manipulation without anyone knowing? Jake Morrison straightened his shoulders and looked up at the massive snake creature. You made the same mistake that every bully makes. You assumed that because we looked weak, we actually were weak. But your ships are tiny, said the stone creature. Your weapons looked primitive. Our ships are small because we do not need big ones, Jake replied. When you can manipulate gravity itself, size becomes meaningless. A small ship with the right weapon can destroy 1,000 large ships with conventional weapons. The tree creature rustled its branches nervously. How many of these weapons do you have? Jake smiled. Would you like me to tell you the truth? Or would you prefer to keep guessing? In the council chamber's communications center, reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Every major government was analyzing the human weapon specifications. Some were trying to build their own versions, others were calculating how to defend against such weapons. All of them were realizing that the galaxy had just changed forever. The humans have 17 ships equipped with these gravity weapons, reported one intelligence officer. According to their own transmissions, they can build more. Vexthul coiled his massive body tighter around his floating platform. 17 ships that can each destroy entire fleets. That makes humanity one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Sir, another aide said, we are receiving a direct transmission from Earth. On the main screen appeared the face of Admiral Pete Collins. He was sitting in his office on Earth, looking calm and confident despite being surrounded by alien species that could each field thousands of warships. Council Speaker Vexthul, Collins said, I believe you have met our ambassador, Jake Morrison. I trust his message was clear. Admiral Collins, Vexthul replied, perhaps we were too hasty in our demands. Humanity is clearly more advanced than our intelligence suggested. Much more advanced, Collins agreed. But we are not unreasonable. We do not want to conquer other species or build an empire. We simply want to be left alone to develop in peace. And if we agree to this, asked the bug creature, then humanity will be a good neighbor. We will trade with those who want to trade. We will share some of our technology with those who treat us fairly. We will even help defend peaceful species against aggressive ones. The tree creature leaned forward. And if species continue to threaten you? Colin's expression became very serious. Then they will discover that the gravity weapon was not our only secret project. We have been very busy these past few years. In space, Captain Hayes was preparing her ship for the journey back to Earth. The damaged alien flagship was limping away, carrying news of humanity's power to every corner of the galaxy. Captain, Commander Bell said, we are receiving surrender requests from 12 different species. They want to negotiate treaties immediately. And we are getting trade offers from 30 more, added Lieutenant Jenkins. Everyone wants to be friends with us now. Hayes looked out at the stars and thought about how much the galaxy had changed in the past hour. Species that had never heard of humanity were now desperate to avoid making enemies of them. Governments that had ruled for thousands of years were suddenly afraid of a species they had thought was primitive. Set course for Earth, she ordered. I think our job here is done. As the Defiant turned toward home, its small size no longer seemed like a weakness. Every alien who saw it would now remember that the tiniest ships could carry the most terrible weapons. Back on Earth, the celebration was already beginning. Humanity had faced the ultimate test and passed. They had stared down the most powerful military force in the galaxy and won. But more importantly, they had sent a message that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The message was simple but clear. Judge others by their actions, not their appearance. Underestimate them at your own risk, and remember that in the vast cosmos, it is not the size of your ship that matters, it is the intelligence of the species that built it. Within a week, the Galactic Council voted unanimously to recognize humanity as a sovereign species with full territorial rights. The hegemony's expansion plans were quietly forgotten. The aliens had learned their lesson. They would never make the mistake of mocking humanity's tiny warships again. because now they knew what those tiny ships could do.